Dear students, I was on leave for some 5 days. I went on tour to Mysore and Coorg. I'm sorry to say that I did not take class for 3-4 days. So today we will start now. Again the polynomial. We start with polynomial again. Okay, this P means polynomial. Polynomial of x is equal to ax plus b. X is equal to degree of 1. That is, this power is 1. So that is why it's called degree of 1. So here the polynomial of x is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. This is degree of 2, or you can say quadratic polynomial. Quadratic, 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 quadratic polynomial. Okay, this is cubic polynomial. So or we can say degree of 3, because this is ax cube plus bx squared plus cx plus d. So this is how the degree of 1, 2, 3 comes according to the power of x. Here the power is 1, here the x power is 2, here the x to the power is 3. Okay, now see, there is a relationship between the polynomial and the graph. Now you take this. Suppose you write y is equal to ax plus b. This is called a linear polynomial, okay, of degree 1. Suppose what you can do, you can assign some values to x and you get the value of y and you draw a graph. Suppose when x is equal to minus 2, okay, you substitute minus 2 here. So 2 into minus 2 becomes minus 4 plus 3 equal to minus 1. So when x is equal to minus 2, y becomes minus 1. Okay, you got this point. Now when x is equal to 2, so 2 into 2, 4 plus the 3, y becomes 7. So when x is equal to 2, y equal to 7. Okay, you get these 2 points now. So when x is equal to minus 2, y equal to minus 1, this is the point in a graph. Okay, when x is equal to 2 and y equal to 7, this is the point in the graph. Okay, you join these 2 points, then this becomes a straight line. That is why it is called a linear polynomial. Okay. Okay, actually you try to do it in a graph paper, you try this sum, because this is given in the textbook of CBSE. The same thing I am repeating to you. Okay, you just take a graph paper, join this minus 2 and minus 1 to 2 and 7. Okay, then see where it cuts the x-axis. Okay, and where it cuts the y-axis. Okay, so if you see, exactly it will cut at minus 1.5. Here it will cut the y-axis at 0 and 3. Or you can also find these points by substituting some. See here, the y is 0. No, this place is y is 0. So you can put, to find the 0 of the equation, in this equation you put y equal to 0. Then 0 becomes 2x plus 3. Okay. Then what happens? The minus 3 goes here, so 2x is minus 3. See, the 3 goes there, so it becomes 2x minus 2x is equal to minus 3. X becomes minus 3 by 2, that is minus 1.5. So when you put y equal to 0, you get the minus 1.5. This is the 0 of the polynomial. See, that is here. Okay. For again, when you substitute x is equal to 0 here, so 2 into 0 becomes 0, then y equal to 3, that is the point here. Okay, you got it. This is how the polynomial is related to the graph. So next I will come to the degree of 2, quadratic polynomial. Okay, then I will draw a graph, and see, the point is, this graph cuts the axis, x-axis. That is called the 0 of the graph, 0 of the equation. So this minus 1.5, it cuts the x-axis. This graph cuts the x-axis at minus 1.5. So that becomes 0 because you put 1.5 0 is equal to x, the equation becomes 0. Okay, you got the point. So that is the thing. 0 of the equation is minus 1.5. Okay, next we will go to the next one. See here, one more thing I have to say. This y depends on x. Suppose you put some value, you get y. So y is according to the value of x, the y value changes. You see, you can see when x is equal to minus 12, y become minus 1. When x is equal to, y become 2. So it's so on. This is like a life process. Suppose you are studying in a school, so you are depending on your father. Okay, for anything you depend. For your studies, suppose you want to buy a shoe, or you want to go for some hotel with your friends. So you ask your father, "Father, give me some money, I have to go for the hotel or I have to buy a shoe." Somehow your father gives you the money, some by borrowing or something, he gives. So you are depending, the son or daughter, depending on the father. Okay, you got the point. So here your father is an independent person, you are a dependent person on your father, on your family. Suppose after some 15 years, what happens? Now you are at 14. After 15 years, you become 38. So by the time you have finished your studies, you got married. Now what happens? Your father's age becomes 50 or something like that. So he gets retired. So then what happens? The cycle changes now. Now your father is depending on your son. See, initially your son or daughter depending on the father. Now now the father is depending on the son. Like that. Now just like this is only an example. So how the dependence and independence comes in the max. Now uh, see, this is of the second degree equation, ax squared plus bx plus c. Now I have taken this graph, that is y equal to x squared minus 3x minus 4. It is also the same second degree. Just for comparison I have written. So this is the equation. We are going to solve this equation now. Okay. Now what is going to do, as I said that previously, when you assign some value to x, the value, what is the value of y? Suppose, for example, I will just do one or two examples. You can see there are 8 values I have given. Suppose x is equal to minus 2. So when x is equal to minus 2, so this x square becomes minus 2 the whole square. Okay, minus 3 into minus 2. Okay, minus 4. This is equal to y. That is, I'm putting x is equal to minus 2. So what happens? This minus 2 into minus 2 becomes, minus 2 into minus 2 becomes 4 plus 4. So this becomes plus 6 and minus 4. So what happens? This 4 and 4 get cancelled. So you get a value of 6. So you are getting a value of 6. So if you put minus 2 here, you get a value of 6. Okay. Suppose if I am putting minus 1 in this place, that is minus 1 the whole square, y equal to, in this equation I am putting, okay. Then minus 3 into minus 1 and minus 4. Okay. So last class also I told minus into minus becomes plus. So this becomes plus 1. Again minus 3 into minus 1 becomes plus 3. Then minus 4. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Minus 4 is equal to 0. So the y value is 0. So like that you can check all the values. I need not go on everything. Okay. Assign the value in the equation and get the y value. Okay. So now you got this set of values. So you take the graph now. So the graph is, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. This is the positive side of the x-axis. This is the negative side of the x-axis. This is the positive side of the y-axis. This is the negative side of the y-axis. Okay. Now plot this graph with x is equal to -2 and 6. Okay. Next -1 and 0. Then 0, 4. And 1 minus 6. See here you see the beauty is 1 for y, x is equal to 1 you are getting 6 for y. Again for x is equal to 2 also you are getting 6. So for both 1 and 2 you are getting 6 as y. So this is the turning point. The graph turns here. Okay. Now 3 minus 4, 4, 0. This is the 4, 0. And last is 5, 6. So if you draw this graph, it is like a U. So this shape is called a parabola. You got the point. So last class I told you if the degree is 1, it is a straight line. That is y equal to ax plus b. But now this is ax squared plus bx plus c. So you get a parabola. So if it is a quadratic equation, you will get this shape of the graph. Okay. That is the thing now. Now is it clear? So now if you see for x is equal to -1, y becomes 0 here. That is for -1, y equal to becomes 0. For x is equal to 4, again y becomes 0 here. That is the thing. So the graph cuts the x-axis at this point. So that is why I have written zeros of the polynomial is the x coordinate of the point where the graph x y equal to x squared minus 3x minus 4 intersects the x-axis. Okay, this is called the intersection. The graph intersecting the x-axis. The graph where it cuts the x-axis, that is called the 0th point. So this graph cuts at 2 points. This x-axis now, it cutting the x-axis at this point and this point. Okay, there are 2 zeros there. That is -1 and +4. So these are the 2 zeros of the equation. Okay, is it clear now? So you are getting, if there is one more thing, you get, this is the maximum number of zeros you can get if the equation is quadratic. That is, if the power of x is 2. Suppose if the power of x to the power 3, you may get 3 intersection like this. But maximum of 2 for this equation, you will get at most 3. Sometimes you may not get any intersection. Okay, this is the maximum number of intersections. So now, actually I am operating on myself. So I am going here and there. So this is why the day is happening. So, okay, now, see now you have taken ax squared plus bx plus c. That is the second degree or quadratic equation. Now we are going to see different kinds of zeros. Okay, suppose if the shape is, that is, I told you it is a parabola. Okay, so this parabola cuts the x-axis at 2 points. Okay, 2 distinct points. Here also the parabola cuts the x-axis at 2 distinct points. Okay, this is one set. This is one. That is why it has 1. Here in second case, here this parabola is touching the x-axis at only one place. Here this parabola touches at x-axis at one place. This is the second case. In the third case, this parabola does not cut the x-axis at all. the graph completely above the x-axis, or the graph is completely below the x-axis. So there is no zeros in this case because it does not intersect with any x-axis. Okay, this is x-axis. So to get zeros, it should intersect the x-axis. So here we have got only one point. So this is a single point. So I return the graph cuts x-axis at two distinct points. The x coordinates are a and a dash. Okay, a and a dash. The second one is the x coordinate of a is only 1 0 of the polynomial a square plus bx plus c. Okay, here the graph completely above the x-axis or below the x-axis and it does not cut the x-axis at all. Okay, now the important thing is the parabola is in the upward direction. This is in the downward direction. So you have different the parabola, the shapes. It is a parabola, but one is in upward direction, one is in downward direction. This is very important. So what it says, if the shape is open upward like this, a is greater than 0. This a is greater than 0. That is, it may be 1 or 2 or something like that. Okay, this a is positive. Okay, if this a is less than 0, if a is minus 1 or minus 2, the parabola will come this downward direction. This is the most important thing. This they will ask you in one mark question. They will give you the shape of this parabola and ask what is the value of a, whether it is positive or negative. So this is the main thing. This is also mentioned in the book. So this is see one more thing. The maximum number of intersection is 2. For a quadratic equation of x squared, for the power of 2, the maximum number of intersection is 2. Likewise, in the next section, for if it is ax cubed, so the maximum number of intersection will be at 3 points. Yeah. Now we are going to see the cubic polynomial. That is, the equation is y equal to x cube minus 4x. Okay. Now we are going to give some values for x and to find out the y value. Actually, this I have given one example, that is, if x is equal to minus 2, what will be the value of y? So I am substituting x is equal to minus 2 here in this equation. So minus 2 the whole cube, okay, minus 4 into minus 2. Okay, now minus 2 the whole cube is minus 2 into minus 2 into minus 2. So minus 2 into minus 2 is plus 4, plus 4 into minus 2 is minus 8. You see, it becomes 3 negative signs are coming. So minus 2 into minus 2 plus 4 into minus 2 is minus 8. Okay, good. This you have to understand. Now minus 4 into minus 2 is 8. So minus 8 plus 8 is equal to 0. So when you substitute x is equal to minus 2, y becomes 0. Likewise, you substitute other values, you will get this, what you call, this tabulation column, you will get this. Okay, you try one by one. So I did not put values for x and to give you the things. Suppose now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points we have taken. So now we are going to apply it in a graph. Okay. Now this is minus 2, 0. This point is minus 2, 0. X is equal to minus 2 and y equal to 0. Okay. Next is minus 1, 3. This minus 1, 3, this point. Okay. The next one is 0, 0. Suppose you give 0 here, this becomes 0. X becomes 0, so y becomes 0. That is why 0 and 0. Now you give x is equal to 1, y becomes minus 3. That is this point. Finally, you give x is equal to 2, y becomes 0 in this point. Okay, now this graph intersects that is, it cuts the x-axis at 3 points. That is at -2 and 0 and 2. So at 3 places the graph cuts the x-axis. At all the places you see the value of y at 0. Here 0. Here 0. So that is the intersection. When the graph cuts the x-axis, the value of y becomes 0. So this is in this degree 3 polynomial, this is the maximum number of zeros you will get. Not more than this 3. But you will get sometimes less than 3 also. Last time I told you now, in the previous section, x squared plus bx plus c. Sometimes there is no 0. The parabola does not cut the x-axis at all. So this is also a type of thing, but this is the maximum number of intersections. Suppose if you write x to the power n, okay, that this n is anything. It may be 5 or 6 or anything. So the number of intersections will be 5 or 6. There is a maximum number of 6. So if the formula is if x is equal to 9, x is equal to n, x to the power n, the number of intersections should be equal to this n. Okay, this is the maximum number of. Okay. Now in your book they have asked, there is an exercise, how many zeros are there? This is the second problem, this is the third problem. So how many zeros are there? This graph cuts x-axis at one point. So the number of zeros is 1. Okay. The third problem, the graph cuts at 3 points. That is this point and this point and this point. So there are 3 zeros are there. In your exercise it is there just to give an example, just to for your understanding. You can solve other problems also. Now the important thing is solving of a problem. Okay. Then relationship between zeros and coefficient of a polynomial. This is an important thing. Now we are coming to the actual problem now. Okay. Now this is the equation is 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. Okay, this is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So this is a quadratic equation. Okay. Now we have to find the zeros of this. Okay. So that is called factorizing. You have to factorize this equation. So to factorize the equation means, how to factorize now? First, you multiply this 2x squared plus x plus 6. This 2. So 2x squared plus 6 is equal to 12x squared. Okay. Now we have to split this 8x to get this 12x squared. So how can we split 8 minus 8x? That is, you can write as minus 6x and minus 2x. Okay, if you add minus 6x plus minus 2x, this becomes 12x squared. So now you have to split now. So that is how we are splitting now. So 2x squared, instead of 8x I am writing 6 minus 6x and minus 2x. So this becomes 8x now. So I am splitting this 8x here, minus 6x minus 6, then the 6 comes here. So now the equation becomes like this now. Okay. Now here you take these two terms. Here the 2x is common. So 2x is common, I am taking the 2x out. So 1x is there, so I am writing 1x is here. Here I have taken 2x is common, so minus 3 is there. So if you multiply 2x into x, 2x squared comes. 2x into minus 3, minus 6x comes. So I am just taking out the 2x outside. Okay. Likewise, here I am taking the minus 2 outside. So the x comes here. Since I have taken minus 2 out, this plus 6 becomes minus 3. Why? Because minus 2 into minus 3 becomes plus 6. You got the point. That is why I have taken written as minus 3. Now if you see, this is also x minus 3, this is also x minus 3. This is common. And this is multiplied by 2x and this is multiplied by minus 2. So you can combine these two and write it as 2x minus 2 and this x minus 3. This is how we have to factorize. Already I think you have done this. Okay. You should know about how to factorize a quadratic equation. This is an important thing. So now we have factorized this equation into 2x minus 2 into x minus 3. Okay, to find out the zero of this equation, you have to equate it to 0 to find out the zeros of the equation. The last time also we had to equate it to 0. Okay, now there are two terms, here one term, here one term. To get 0, either this can be 0 or this can be 0 because see 5 into 0 means is equal to 0. So either this can be a 0 or this can be 0, but this is a number. So this, now we are taking this is 0. So in this case, either this can be 0, 2x minus 2 can be 0 or x minus 3 can be a 0. So we will take one by one. Let us assume that 2x minus 2 is 0 because the product is 0. You understand now? If you multiply this 2x minus 2 into x minus 3 is 0. So either this might be 0 or x minus 3 is 0. So let us take 2x minus 2 equal to 0. So 2x minus 2 is 2x is equal to, so x is equal to 1. You get x is equal to 1. Now we are assuming that this may be 0, x minus 3 may be 0. So we are writing as x minus 3 equal to 0. Okay, in that case, so if you put the 3 goes, x becomes 3. So we have two zeros now. X is equal to 1 and x is equal to 3. So these are the points where this is an intersection point. Yeah, if you find a graph, this 1 and 3, it cuts at 1 and 3. Okay, 1 and 3. Got the point? Plus 1 plus 1. Okay, this is at these points y becomes 0. So you can also check. You put x is equal to 1 in the equation. 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. You put x is equal to 1. This becomes 2. Okay, x is equal to 2 minus 8 into x minus 8 plus 6. So 2 plus 6, 8 minus 8 equal to 0. So likewise, if you put this 3, also if you put in this equation will become, so just check it up. Okay. So this is how you find the zeros of the equation. Now the very important thing comes now. What I have said is there is a relationship between the zeros and coefficient of the polynomial. What is the coefficient of polynomial? This a is a coefficient of x squared. This b is the coefficient of x. This c is a constant term. Okay. Now you know there are two zeros, 1 and 3. Now you add the sum of the zeros. So sum of the zeros is 1 plus 3 equal to 4. Let it be. Okay. Now product of zeros, that is x is equal to 1 and x is equal to 3. 1 into 3 is 3. Okay. Let it be like this. Okay. Now you go to the equation. This 2x squared minus 8x plus 6. You go to the equation and you write this minus of, okay, coefficient of x. That is coefficient of x is minus 8. Okay, minus 8. Minus of coefficient of x. Then coefficient divided by coefficient of x squared. So coefficient of x squared is 2. You got this point. So the coefficient of x is minus 8. This is minus 8. See, actually what is there? The minus 8, you should write it as minus 8. This minus sign is different. So the what the formula says, minus of b. B is also minus 8. So minus of minus 8. So this minus of minus 8 becomes plus 8. So divided by the coefficient of x squared, that is 2. So if you divide 8 by 2, it becomes 4. So what happens is, the sum of the zeros becomes 4 here. Here also it comes up 4. That is minus of coefficient of x divided by coefficient of x squared, or the coefficient of x is b and the minus sign comes, the coefficient of x squared is a, that is minus b by a. Okay, you got the point. That is sum of the zeros, that is 4 equal to 4. You have proved now by writing the coefficients of the equation. And now the next thing comes, product of zeros. So you know x is equal to 1, x is equal to 3. If you multiply 1 into 3, it becomes 3. Now you know, see the constant term. We write the constant term. See the constant term is 6. And write the coefficient of x squared. Coefficient of x squared is 2. Okay. So this 6 by 2. So this 6 by 2 becomes 3. So that is equal to product of zeros. So this is the way I will ask you to prove. Prove that the zeros and coefficients of polynomial are the same. To prove it. Okay. This is the very important thing, that is to summarize, sum of the zeros is equal to minus b by a. That is the coefficient of the equation. The product of x is equal to constant term divided by a. A is the coefficient of x squared. Okay. Finally, now the zeros has become as alpha and beta. So we say that the zeros are we rewrite as zeros called alpha and beta. Alpha is beta is nothing but zeros of the equation. So alpha plus beta equal to minus b by a. Okay. Then alpha beta equal to c by a. This is a very important thing in the polynomial. So based on this, they will ask you many questions. Okay, I will solve some more problems tomorrow. Okay. Thank you for watching.